This is a video about not chasing things. The Brazilian poet Mario Quintana has a famous quote, you might have heard it before. He said that we shouldn't waste our time chasing butterflies, but we should mend our garden and just let the butterflies come to us. I think that's a really, really great way of understanding how to live a real life. I think when we're living a real life, instead of an unreal one, we kind of slow down, we're in the moment, and we're not running around trying to bring things into our garden because we feel like we have to fill the void within ourselves. Instead, we are just focused on the garden, enjoying the garden, appreciating the garden, being in the garden, and then we let the things that need to come into the garden just come to us. That's what this video is going to be about. One of the main problems with chasing anything in life is that it kind of goes against one of the universal laws of life, which is that what we give our attention to is what grows. So for example, if you just focus on your problems, well, they're not magically going to solve themselves because you're not focused on the solution. And so you're just going to perpetuate the problem. Things are going to get worse because you're not dealing with it. And, that's going to suck. When we're chasing things, we're basically focused on the fact that we don't have whatever it is, because at some level, we believe that we need to be chasing it in the first place, and that makes us come across as kind of desperate. It repels whatever it is. You'll see this all the time in the world of relationships or in the world of business. In relationships, if you chase somebody too much, they might initially like it, they like the attention, but then eventually you're going to look desperate. They're going to start asking themselves questions. Why is this person chasing me this much? They're going to run away. In the world of business, if you have clients or you're in sales, whatever it is, if you chase the sale too much, if you chase the client too much, it's the same thing. They're going to sense your desperation and they're going to run away. And it's because, whether you know it or not, by chasing things, you're so focused on not having whatever it is that you're just putting that energy out there. You're putting out the signals that whatever it is should be running away from you. Because if you're chasing it, then actually, if you think about it kind of logically in a strange kind of way, you don't belong with it. And you're just reinforcing the discrepancy between who you are and what you're chasing. And you're reinforcing this unconscious idea that at the level of your identity, you don't truly believe that the butterfly should come to you. So when you look at it like this, the question becomes, why are you chasing whatever you're chasing in the first place? Chasing goes against our nature. And I mean this in a metaphorical sense. Like if you're a caveman or something and you're on the hunt, obviously, you have to run after whatever it is that you're hunting. But in general, when it just comes to our goals and going through life, chasing is almost always a sign that at some level we have some kind of a mental disturbance, let's say, or an emotional disturbance, or a split within ourselves that has caused us to put something on a pedestal and to change the way that we see it because of our emotional stuff distorting our ability to maintain perspective. The truth is that you don't need to chase anything. And as soon as you do find yourself chasing things, you'll probably find that it's actually a case of not running towards whatever it is, like you may think on the surface, but that you're actually running away from something inside yourself. If you're so desperate, let's say, that you are running towards that romantic relationship, then probably what's going on is there is something inside you, some kind of pain, some kind of loneliness, some kind of void that you think the relationship is going to fill. And so you think that you're running towards the relationship. You think that's what you're chasing, but actually you're not chasing that at all. You're running away from yourself. And this is why the energy that I talked about in the last segment of the video comes across as desperate, because actually you're chasing the impossible. You're asking somebody else to fill this kind of hole inside you. It's the same with the business thing. If you're so desperate for clients that you just keep chasing them and chasing them and chasing them to the point that they get irritated, well, actually, you're not running towards a client at all. You're probably running away from your fear of running out of money, from your scarcity mindset, from your fear that you're not good enough. And so you need to get all these clients and blah, 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 so that you can finally feel like you've made it and tell the world that you're a big shot or buy that Mercedes or whatever the hell it is. The point is, chasing is a sign or a symptom of this internal need to run away from yourself. And the more you do chase, the more you reinforce that. And the more you reinforce that, the worse you feel. And the worse you feel, the more shitty energy you put out there. And the less likely you are to get any butterfly coming and sitting in your garden, because the garden is broken, basically. Broken isn't a judgment. We're all broken in some way. So it's just a human thing. But the point is, if you don't focus on tending to the garden first, which just means your inner experience, then you're going to be chasing all kinds of things that you don't really need for the reason that you think you need them. And it's just going to cause more problems because you really focused on the problem without realizing that's what you're doing. All of this is really just to say that when you're in this chase mode, you're not really being real. When we're chasing things, we're really doing it because there's so much pressure on us that we can't focus on what's real or what's true. Chasing ultimately means that we've worked ourselves up so much that we've put a frame around our experience and we've become so fixated on whatever it is that we're chasing that we block out all other information from reality. Ultimately, this is because we're in a state of two F's: force and fear. Force in the sense that we're not really been responsive to life. We're just forcing everything through this little frame of being fixated on whatever it is that we think is going to solve all our problems, that we try and make life conform to what we think we need rather than learning from life and moving with it, which ironically is going to make us more likely to get whatever it is that we really want, assuming that the thing that we're chasing is something we really want. It might not be. That's a whole other video, I guess, because we could be just filtering it through the ego, blah, 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 blah. The other F, because I said there's two Fs, is fear. When we're running away unconsciously or consciously from whatever it is that is really driving us to chase this thing and put it on a pedestal, we're in a state of fear. Basically, the fear of facing ourselves, the fear of facing those underlying emotions, the fear of consequences that we believe may unfold in our lives if we don't get this thing. So, for example, if we don't get that relationship, we fear that we're just going to die alone with our cat next to us or whatever it is. We fear if we don't get those clients for our business, then we're going to end up in the streets and we're going to be homeless and nobody's going to love us. And then, life is just going to be so horrible. Fear, as the acronym goes, stands for false evidence appearing real. All of that fear that's causing us to just run around like a headless chicken and chase whatever it is that we're chasing is, in 99.999% of cases, exactly that. It's false evidence that we have projected onto life based on our internal stuff, because perception is projection. And so we're responding to fear, which is just false evidence appearing real, and it's causing us to act in this crazy way. And if you understand that, then you can slow down and then you can start being real again. And instead of just reacting and forcing and acting in this fearful way, which is what causes us to chase, then we can start responding to life and living life. And hopefully that's going to allow us to mend the garden, to quote the original quote, and then things are going to fall into place. The main problem with chasing things then is that it distorts our view and perspective of the truth. If we're so focused on something that we're in fear of not getting it, or that we're forcing things in an attempt to make it happen, then ultimately we've disconnected ourselves from the truth, which is that we can't really force anything, and that fear, in most cases, is unreal. And so if we are acting in accordance to those promptings of force and fear, then we've lost our awareness. If we lose awareness, then we're not accepting life. And if we're not accepting life, then any action that we take is not going to get us anywhere, which is why chasing things is ultimately about running on the spot. The solution then is to raise your awareness and to return to a mode where you're not chasing things out of reactivity and fear and force, but where you've been responsive to life, where you're present in life and you can actually interact with life and navigate life as things happen, rather than just being so focused on whatever it is you think that you need that you're not actually doing anything. If we go back to the original metaphor of mending your garden instead of chasing those butterflies, the easiest way to mend your garden, i.e. your life, your relationship with yourself, is to learn to slow down, is to learn to relax. It doesn't make sense for a lot of us to hear that because we're so conditioned in our society to constantly be grinding, hustling, making things happen. And I believe that that is the way to live, to make things happen. But the only way we can make anything happen is to actually be present in life. Otherwise, anything that you do is just kind of empty. It's fruitless. It's not going to get you results because it has no connection to anything real. And the only place where you're going to get the results is in reality. If you slow down, you get out of your head, you get out of all that emotional gunk, garbage that's causing you to think that you need to go chase those butterflies. And when you do slow down and you learn to breathe and you learn to just be yourself, then the garden starts to take care of itself. That's the thing that seems to happen when I'm coaching people. The garden takes care of itself. Think about life. We're part of life, right? Like if you have a house plant, I've got one over there, you don't have to really do anything except water it. It's going to take care of its leaves. They're going to grow. They're going to pop up. Nature does its own thing, pointing out the window. Your body, at the level of your unconscious mind, you're always breathing, your heart's pumping blood. You don't have to actively do that. Like life takes care of itself. And it's our interference with it at the level of the mind that is what causes the problems. The reason it causes problems in this case of chasing these down butterflies is because it shifts our focus from the process of just being in life and living life to the goals that we think are going to save our lives that never can. If you focus on the goal and not the process, then ultimately all you end up doing is distracting yourself with your own emotional shit. And the reason that that happens is because if you stay focused on the goal, more in the sense of being attached to the goal, like identifying with the goal, then what you're doing is you're just maintaining your focus on your emotional reasons for needing that thing so badly in the first place. And so what you need to do is figure out what the goal is, but then once you know what the goal is, let go of it and just put yourself back in the process of living. And you can do that by slowing down, which is different for all of us. For me, it means doing yoga, going hiking, breathing properly, all that stuff, not stressing, not worrying, just being in life. And paradoxically, when you get to that point, there is less friction between you and life anyway. And so the butterflies do eventually come to you, if they're supposed to come to you. If it was something that you were chasing that didn't belong in your garden, then it's never going to come to you. But the only reason you would chase that kind of thing is because you've been unreal with yourself at some level. Again, though, even for that, the solution is to slow down, because when you do slow down, you get in touch with who you really are, your true values, your true being, your true intentions. And so you know what's yours, you know what belongs in the garden, and you don't need to chase it. It's already there. So what have we just learned in this video, if anything? There's a saying in yoga from the Bhagavad Gita where it goes something like, yoga is the journey of the self, through the self, to the self. In other words, it's all connected. Like everything in truth is interdependent. When we talk about chasing the butterfly, really, there is no distinction between us and the butterfly if it's real. And the reason we can say that is because it's all just one, man. Like we're all in the garden of our lives, and the things that belong in the garden are always going to be in the garden. And so if you understand that, you don't need to chase anything. Like really, you don't need to chase anything, because whatever you chase, as soon as you get into the act of chasing it, you've made it unreal. And if it's all about being real, the journey of the self through the self to the self, then chasing is just pointless. All you really need to do is know what you want, but stay in the process of either moving towards it or not moving towards it, because maybe you made a mistake and it was never your butterfly in the first place. So that was a video. It was a very rambling video, and I apologize. I always end up apologizing at the end of these videos, but well, not always. But anyway, yeah, stop chasing. You don't need to chase things. If you chase things, they run away. Run towards yourself, and the rest will fall into place. Peace.